And welcome back to this witty tutorial. In this example, I'm going to do a little bit more on signals and slots and kind of show you what is going on behind the scenes. This is not a direct implementation of how witty does it, but it's pretty close. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a console program that shows you how to use the witty library, and that is totally possible. You can do console programs using witty. You don't have to actually do full-fledged web applications. So I'm going to create a new folder, and this is going to be called signals slots. Okay, there's our new folder. Going to create a new project. Go ahead and just name it signals slots. Go to our projects, signal slots folder. Click on save. Yes. There's our new project. There's our files. Alright, and here's our source file. So basically, if you want to do a full-fledged console application with witty, do this example, you just get rid of all this, you get rid of this, and the only thing that we don't need a witty container object because there's nothing to display on the screen. You just need the base class of witty object. And we're dealing with signals, so we need the witty signal class. Alright, and we also need the input-output header for standard C++. So we're going to display that on the screen. Add the standard namespace. Alright, and what we're going to do is create two classes. One I'm going to call my widget. This does not inherit from witty widget, but in order for you to understand what is going on, I just went ahead and just called it my widget so you can actually see, okay, that's kind of a representation of what a widget would be. So there's your first class, and both of these classes have to inherit from the witty object. Again, as I said in a previous tutorial, in order for a class, any C++ class, to participate in signals and slots, it has to inherit from the witty object. Okay, and we're going to have that. Now I could have used a struct as well. That is perfectly valid as well. And this first class is a widget. So what does a widget usually contain? Signals. You have to have signals because this class is going to actually invoke some kind of event. So I'm going to call this clicked. I'm going to have, well, not signals, but signal. I'm going to have two signals here. Enter pressed. And you can see, look at the names I use. One is called clicked and one is called entered pressed. And I'm going to show you something else. If a signal that does not take a argument, you just leave it blank. Or witty has something that's called no class. Actually, I'll just leave that as it is. I kind of like that because it gives you a better representation of what is going on. And in this case, this would take a slot that takes an integer as an argument. This one would take void. This one would take an integer. And then as you can see, we have our signals, and now we just need the corresponding slots that will be invoked when the signals get called. So I'm going to call this one button clicked. Doesn't take any arguments. And this one I'm going to call enter pressed. And as you can see, just looking at the names kind of makes sense. One is mimicking a button click, and another one is mimicking a button press. In other words, we're pressing the enter key on the keyboard. And all these are going to do is display some text on the screen. You clicked a button, and this one is going to do a for loop. Use our index variable, less than count, and I guess I could do that as a const, but I'll just leave it as is. This is a quick example. You pressed the enter key. As you can see, all that'll do is if we put in 1, 2, 3, it'll just print off how many times we're going to print it on the screen. And so we have so basically you have your two signals, your two slots that are in their own class, and this could totally be in its own class all by itself. This could be one class, but I just kind of decided to just break it up that way. And then we have my widget. Just going to call it my widget. And that's that. And then we're going to create the slots. And here's where the magic comes. Collect dot connect. I'm going to use the boost bind implementation. I'm going to take the address of the member method, my slots, button click. You can only take that because it doesn't have an argument. And then here's the object that it belongs to, which is S. And then my widget. Enter press dot connect boost bind my slots, enter press, and here's the difference. There's the object it belongs to, and now you have to give it a placeholder. And this is where everything is different. Because it takes an argument, you have to give it a placeholder. And for another example, if we had like 2 arguments in our function, we would do placeholder 1, placeholder 2, if we had 3, placeholder 3, and so on and so forth. And that is how you would add additional arguments. And then if we just want to invoke it or emit it, it's really the correct terminology. You're emitting your signal, and it'll emit the slot. My widget, enter pressed, and you have to give it an argument, because remember, your signal takes an argument of type integer, so we just pass it in. This doesn't take an argument. And then once you do that, save it, run CMake. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Let's compile it. And of course I did. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Let's see if I can spot it without having to see what did we do wrong here. I already know. Let's see. Oh, I see. My fault. As y'all can see, I make mistakes. Let's see. Just trying to make sure I got everything done here. Alright, there we go. And we don't have to run the Witty server because it's not being used. But like I said, you can create console programs without having to use the full-fledged Witty library. And if we run this, as you can see, we have our Witty object. You know, this inherited from Witty object, this inherited from Witty object. And then it can participate in the signals and slot system. We have our two signals. And then we just call the signals, and they indirectly invoke the two functions. It invokes this one. We only called it once. And we passed in the count variable. And it went ahead and we passed in the number 5, and there you go. You press the enter key 5 times. So that just gives you a overview of what is going on behind the scenes. You know, you create a Witty object, you add signals to it, you create the corresponding functions that have the correct signature. Remember, the signatures have to match. And then you can just go ahead and just invoke it. And you can use this, you know, just in regular C++. You don't even have to implement it in a web application. You can just do a regular application. So that is the, you know, the flexibility of Witty. Your possibilities are endless. That is the beauty of programming. You're not limited to one idea, one thing. You can do a slew of things. So I encourage you to try this out in your next application, even if it's just a project or a small project. All right, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye-bye.